Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another breakfast chat. And today, I thought I would answer a question that I got in the comments yesterday, and I forget that because I'm used to, at this point, my clients all either have home gyms or they're training in places that have been open for a very, very long time. But I did have someone say, hey, my country's about to open back up, which at this point, the fact that anyone's even locked down any country is ludicrous, completely ludicrous. They're ignoring what the experts are saying, have been for a long time. They're ignoring the scientific consensus if they're still locking countries down, right? The leaders are idiots. But that aside, it is still happening, and so let's try to help the people who are. Because someone said, hey, how am I supposed to return to training? I've just been training at home with, kettlebells and bands and things. Well, if you did that, you should be fine to return to your normal programming. And I do mean to serious programming. Now, a lot of people say, well, you can't just return to the weights that you were using. Well, obviously, but let's come over to what do I promote? I promote conjugate training, right? Everyone knows that. If you take the advice that I give you on this channel and you have stayed in shape, meaning you've been doing body weight stuff, you've been doing kettlebells, bands, you can return to conjugate type training on your very first day. You can walk in and on your first exercise, you can max. I've done this with clients who went through this. Okay. I had one client who came to me and started during the lockdowns. I coached him for a couple of months during the lockdowns with stuff he had at home. He did not have a rack. He had a barbell. He had 185 pounds. We put him into conjugate from day one. He had never run conjugate, by the way. He had done other types of powerlifting programs. This guy is an actual powerlifter in this case. Hey, he deadlifted over 500 pounds his second week. We hit over a 400-pound squat off of a box his first day back. Okay, he had not gotten under a bar for a real squat or bench press or deadlift in months. He hit like a 400 box squat and over a 500 deadlift, or like roughly a 500 deadlift, 505, something like that, immediately. We put him on a max bench from day one, and he came in and he progressed rapidly from there. Another example, I had a guy in the UK who ordered a home gym, had stuff delivered. It was going to take a while. All right. He had a kettlebell, one band, and a plyo box. We worked on his conditioning because he couldn't do any heavy lifting. Everything was really, really high reps. High rep step-ups with the kettlebell. Kettlebell swings. Tons of band work, right? And he did tons and tons of kettlebell swings, and we did tons and tons of step-ups. All right, this guy was a 500-pound squatter. He did not have access to anything heavier than something like a 25-pound, like a 10-kilo kettlebell. Might have been a little heavier. Might have been a 15-kilo kettlebell. That's what he had. He did not have access to any real weights for something like 8 to 10 weeks. Got him in the best conditioning he had been in a long time. He walked into the gym. We go right into conjugate. He hit a 450-pound squat. Okay. In that time, he lost 10% of his squat strength due to losses in neuromuscular efficiency. He maintained all of his muscle mass. You know how we know he maintained his muscle? Because with 1 month into training again, he hit a 500 squat again. A month into training, he regained the 50 pounds he lost on his squat. You don't gain much muscle in a month. Okay. What are you guys losing while you're doing all this? You're losing neuromuscular efficiency. You're losing intramuscular coordination because you don't have access to heavy weights. You should be able to maintain your muscle mass. You should be able to maintain your muscle if you were doing the appropriate stuff. If you're still trying to find a way to do leg work, right? You can do high rep step-ups. You can find a bench, you can find a box, you can find something to do step-ups on. If you're doing really high rep step-ups to failure with whatever you have, your quads and glutes and things, you will maintain your muscle. Push-ups with bands. whatever rowing, kettlebell swings, whatever you have access to at home, if you make it work and you take these sets to failure, even if they're 50 rep, 100 rep sets to failure, you'll maintain your muscle. You may not maintain 100% of it. In some cases, you might gain muscle, depending on how small you were, right? If you were really tiny and still a novice, you might actually get bigger from all this. But I'm talking about advanced lifters, right? Both of these examples are guys who are advanced lifters already. They maintained all their muscle, and they came in, returned to where they were quickly, and started hitting PRs in some cases. Back to PRs in like 5 to 6 weeks. So my point here is that anyone in shape can run conjugate. The only reason we don't put ranked novices on conjugate is because they're out of shape and they don't know how to move. They don't know basic movement patterns. You can't put a novice who doesn't know how to hold a barbell correctly. You can't have him max bench. And so on and so forth. Right? Because people, they don't know how to move. They have no concept of movement, body awareness, how to brace, how to squeeze a bar tightly, how to hold it in their hands. We don't want to be doing 1 rep maxes for them. But anyone who is proficient, and this includes your 70-year-old grandmother, they can start maxing out if you're proficient in your movement. So we can take people and put them immediately into max. It doesn't matter. You won't be lifting what you were, but so people say, why the maxing? Why? What's the point here? Because we can program everything off of those. If I get you in the first week and we max on a bench press and a box squat, you can program almost all your other lifts. You know what you lift on a squat and on a bench press. You can program all of your movements, your rowing, your good mornings, everything off of that. Okay? You can program everything off of that. And then as you establish more maxes, you have programming data. It will let you know where your strength level is right now from day one. Okay? And then you will run the same programming. In other words, if I had given a lifter a conjugate template and they had to spend 5 months doing just body weight stuff and kettlebell and bands and whatever they could do at home, they should be able to return to that template and run the same percentages. In other words, they can max out and work off those percentages immediately. So when people say, how do I return to training? Did you stay in shape? Did you stay in shape? If you have stayed in shape, you can return to this style of training, the style of training I do, the styles of training I program, you guys see my clients doing. You can do this immediately from your very first day back, day one. If you let yourself get out of shape, I'm almost going to say I don't want to help you because you don't care. People who don't care about their results, I don't feel like wasting my time on them. They're a waste of time. If you cared, you would have stayed in shape. You'd have found something to do. That being said, me setting aside being harsh like that, I would say, well, if you didn't get in shape, you're probably going to need a few weeks of remedial training. Probably some general physical preparedness. Learn to move again, get back in shape, and then after, 3 or 4 weeks of that, return to normal, standard, serious programming. Hey, there's your solution. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.